All right, so we said we're going to do this video yesterday, so we got to do it today. WrestleMania 41 has just become the most interesting WrestleMania of all time as far as I'm concerned, and I have absolutely no idea what matches we're getting. Now, of course, you know, we've done the prediction videos, and I was really leaning on the fact I thought it was going to be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, and I thought we were going to get Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, which again, when I actually go back to the Royal Rumble, I kind of double down on this, because I'm like, man, we did do that big angle with Punk and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and that's basically eliminated themselves from the Royal Rumble. And I'm sure it will all tie into the Elimination Chamber. Somebody sent me a message going, oh, maybe Roman Reigns, you know, cost Seth Rollins in the chamber, and that's how you get to WrestleMania. I can't see that because it doesn't feel like a very Roman Reigns thing to do, but listen, the idea is out there, and it would certainly get a big reaction from a Canadian crowd. The one thing that has really shifted me to a different place is WWE has done lots of things over the last 3 months, which they are now starting to lean back on, right? And a big one was before the Royal Rumble, what did CM Punk say to Cody Rhodes? He made it very clear, and it was one of those speeches that, even though Punk kind of goes babyface and heel, depending on who he's talking to, but it was a very intense thing to say to somebody and then not back it up. It's like when a proper true superhero that we all love looks into the camera and says, I promise you, I am going to win that WWF championship. You're like, why did you say WWF? It's 2025. What's going on? It's almost like you made a mistake there. But if they don't do it, you do run the risk of losing that connection with the crowd, especially if the story and the right emotional beats aren't hit. But yes, CM Punk said to Cody Rhodes, the good news is somebody's coming to take that title off you. The bad news is it's going to be me. Now, he doesn't need to do this at WrestleMania. Of course he doesn't. But given what happened on Raw and given where we are at Elimination Chamber, I just don't know. I can't believe that Logan Paul is the outlier here. I don't want to get too much into Logan Paul because that's what we talked about yesterday. But Logan Paul and AJ Styles I had down on my bingo card. I don't think we're going to do that now. I think Bron Breakker is a way more interesting match. I hope it's not the Elimination Chamber, just because that means we're going to announce it next week, like a few days beforehand. It won't have the same gravitas. We're talking about Bron Breakker and AJ Styles here. As somebody else said to me, hopefully I'll remember to find these tweets and put them up there. Well, maybe it's Bad Bunny versus Logan Paul, and we just need to get through all the other stuff in order to get to that. And there also was a lot of beef between Logan Paul and Bad Bunny. Logan Paul sent him a social media message or something like that saying, oh, I'm a better professional wrestler than you. And while you are running a huge risk in putting them in a match at WrestleMania, it all depends on what WWE think they can get away with, because there would be no ring general, right? All of Logan Paul's best matches have been with an incredible wrestler, and obviously Bad Bunny is really good, but he's been there with the likes of Damian Priest that know what they're doing. But if you could do it, you are going to break the internet. You're going to get news articles on TMZ and, I don't know, Good Morning America. I don't know what programs talk about this nonsense over the pond, but it would generate a crazy amount of buzz, which of course is what WWE wants, not only all the time, but specifically for events like WrestleMania. And given the way that both of them approach matches, they could go to a ring in a warehouse. You could have a bunch of people, like the way that Gallus trained The Rock, right, when he was coming back, and you could just run it and run it and run it and run it to the point it would be like second nature to them. And they have experience of being in a live arena, so I think it could work. So I think that does have to be on the table, because I imagine you wouldn't start building that until post the Elimination Chamber, just due to the busy schedules that both guys have. And if that happens, then sure, John Cena is free. But if Logan Paul isn't destined to do that, and again, there's not been a hint on WWE television, this is all in the grander sphere of life, I all of a sudden have fallen into this thing where I think maybe WWE does want to double down on the singles matches, meaning one night it'll be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, and on the other night it will be CM Punk versus John Cena for the WWE title. And if you did do that, because WWE obviously would lean very heavily onto the whole, oh my gosh, CM Punk is finally main eventing WrestleMania, I actually think CM Punk could win. And that means coming out of WrestleMania, you have a whole new landscape to play with. And again, a few people are saying they don't necessarily feel like WWE is bad. Well, nobody's saying that, but they feel maybe a little bit of the momentum is running out. I am not one of these people. I find most WWE shows to be quite entertaining to watch, but I will say over the last few weeks, SmackDown has been a bit drab and Raw's been okay, but it's very much felt like, oh, we've got Elimination Chamber coming and we've cut the side of the Elimination Chamber so we can start building to WrestleMania. And I'm sure from, what will that be, early March, right through to mid-April, it's going to be pretty hot. It's going to be pretty good. We have some major superstars there. But if you did all of a sudden feel like you needed to shake things up a bit, I think it all depends if you're looking at it from a story point of view or a business point of view, because Cody Rhodes is doing terrific numbers. If you actually find the information, be it gate receipts or merchandise sales or television numbers or whatever it is, people just love Cody Rhodes, right? As do I, because he's absolutely brilliant. But you don't want to be reactive. You want to be proactive. And I really don't mind the idea. In fact, I like it. I love love the idea of CM Punk being the WWE champion coming out of there, because people will be mad at this. Again, CM Punk is an anomaly. You either really, really love him or you really, really hate him. So that is going to create a controversy. On the night itself, you get a big reaction, I think. And then you could also go into the Cody Rhodes Randy Orton program, which would need a WWE title. And of course, I would imagine that CM Punk Roman Reigns gets booked for SummerSlam. And then, as we have said a lot on these videos, when you do have that 2-night card, you're going to have at least one match that makes you go, oh my gosh, that's like a WrestleMania main event. Otherwise, why are you doing a 2-night card? Now, the Royal Rumble is actually quite interesting here because WWE basically drew 65,000. I think the official number was 67,000. Whatever. It was 65,000 plus, which means the biggest attended show of this year in terms of single days in WWE could be the Royal Rumble. When was the last time a WrestleMania wasn't the most attended show? So we are living in crazy times, meaning we do get to SummerSlam and there won't be any problem selling tickets and you can kind of do whatever you want. But because the Royal Rumble in 2026 is going to be 2 nights, it just is. I'll be absolutely baffled and amazed if it's not. But if you are all of a sudden going to have 3 events that go over 2 nights, I really do think you're going to have to start bringing out the gangbangers, shouldn't have said that, going down the line. Otherwise, it won't be sustainable, right? And if all of a sudden business does drop off and all of a sudden you have these weekend events, you can go back to 1 day, but that is a little bit of an admission of, oh, we didn't really pin that one, right, did we? I mean, New Japan got that. New Japan did the 2-night Wrestle Kingdom, and I don't know whether they plan to do it every single year, but they backed off that right away, and ever since, well, they kind of did it this year, right? They had Wrestle Dynasty and they had Wrestle Kingdom, and they did not sell anywhere near amount of tickets as they used to, so it's something they need to think about. And somebody in New Japan, I don't know whether it was Tanahashi or not, but they said maybe we didn't approach Dynasty in the right way in terms of trying to put butts in seats. So I just think if WWE wants to keep this momentum going, and there is sometimes a drop-off post-WrestleMania, even when the product is hot, a lot of people like to stop by on the road to WrestleMania, and then they like to go away again. But if all of a sudden you're coming out with stuff that makes you go, oh my gosh, and listen, once again, Cody as champion is brilliant. I'm happy for Cody to be champion as long as possible. But a story is a story, and a story needs beats, and sometimes you need to swerve, you need to go left, you need to go right. You need to give people something new. And if you ask me what's more interesting on that Raw after WrestleMania, Cody being the champion, or CM Punk being the champion, CM Punk is way more interesting, especially because when he did the No Contest podcast, which must have been November last year, or whatever the flub it was, which is a great show, by the way, you should check it out. He made this hint, and again, he's CM Punk, he understands how to push buttons and get nerds like me to talk about it, but he did say, they were talking about his heel and face personas, and he said, give it 6 months, insinuating that maybe a heel turn was coming. What is April? It's 6 months in. So you also have the wonderful thing floating around in the air, that could be the Paul Heyman favor. A lot of us thought I was going to have something to do with Roman Reigns or blah, blah, blah. No, I'm starting to really think the Heyman that Paul Heyman will call in, the Heyman that Paul Heyman will call in. I understand why you watch these videos. The favor that CM Punk will call in will be, listen, Paul, when the time is right and you see the bat signal, you need to come out and sort me out and ensure that I become the WWE champion. And I think it's a wonderful tale, to be honest, because Cody is protected, which WWE is going to do. Even if he was taking on a mega super duper whooper heel that we all hated, he couldn't win the title at WrestleMania because we've seen that a couple of times before. It doesn't work. People want nice feelings in their tum-tum. So, you know, you would protect Cody in a situation like this. And the real interesting part, of course, is that it is a babyface match. I mean, maybe sort of Punk, again, leans more to the other side, but that's just more his character. I think deep down on paper, if you had a roster page, babyfaces and heels, Cody and CM Punk would absolutely be on the babyface side. But that's also why I like John Cena in that main event, because he loses, Cody carries on, it makes Cody more interesting and Cena more interesting, because what the flub does Cena do now in order to get to title number 17? But I really do not know, which I think is a wonderful thing. Maybe that's the other thing we should talk about here too. A lot of people are mad. I can't believe I don't know the WrestleMania main events, and I always get this every time. If AEW did this, everybody would be mad. All right, but not me. So don't come tell me this. Go yell at them. Go yell at the crazy people that get angry about this kind of stuff, even though there's no need. I can only take it on a day-by-day and a merit-by-merit basis. And maybe because I've seen 41 WrestleManias, including the one we've got coming up, I'm perfectly happy for this one to make me scratch my head and go, oh my gosh, I have absolutely no idea. And even if we are right in the sense it's going to be Roman and Seth and it's going to be Punk and it's going to be Cody, then you start arguing, well, what goes main event night 1? Because I think Jey Uso will win the World Championship. I think it would be crazy if he didn't. I think it would be a mistake if he didn't. I think you won't be striking when the iron is hot. But can you really have Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns and not put it in the main event? I don't know. Again, that's something for you to discuss. Please do so in the comments. But a championship wouldn't be on the line. I think most of us would agree, given that it's a decade-long story, that having their final blow-off match arguably does have more, I don't want to say worth to it, but has more intrigue, because who the flub wins? Is Roman Reigns going to lose at another WrestleMania? Seth Rollins, to me, feels like he's lost enough. in terms of how that feud works, who actually is even the good guy and the bad guy. I mean, Seth did the heel turn, but a lot's happened since then. So, I don't know, I think you'd run the risk of maybe negating a Jey Uso title win. Not if you screw up the finish to Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, but if you don't do it right, you may dampen the audience a bit, and then you've got to try and then get back up again. I also saw somebody say it should be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk on night 1, and then that should determine who faces Cody on night 2. I hate that idea for 2 reasons. One, it means we're going to do some shenanigans in the Elimination Chamber, which we've already made very clear will determine who Cody Rhodes' #1 contender is. But also, Cody Rhodes is meant to be a babyface. That only works if the person is a heel, because that way, let's say CM Punk wins it there. CM Punk goes in as absolutely the underdog. He just had to fight on night 1, whereas Cody Rhodes, who's meant to be our ultimate babyface, is going there totally fresh, like, my HP bar hasn't even knocked down. So I don't want to do that, and I think we've established how you get to WrestleMania. You win the Royal Rumble, you win the Elimination Chamber. It's a little bit convoluted, but it is what it is. But I just think it's fascinating, and I think it's incredible that you could come up with so many of these matches, because you could do the triple threat and you could do Cody versus John Cena. You could separate them into singles matches. You could spin it around and do CM Punk versus Seth Rollins again. I wouldn't personally want that because we've seen it, but they do have great chemistry together, and that was on the table at one point. And then maybe you do a Roman Reigns versus whoever, right? It's not going to be Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes again. I doubt that. But you could do Roman Reigns versus John Cena. Again, I don't want to see that. But I'm talking about matches that you can put together in fantasy Wah-Wah land that would be able to stand out at WrestleMania. And each of these can hold up to that. And that's why I don't mind knowing. And that's why when we do get past April 18th, 19th, whatever the flub it is, I'm going to like a right moron, because I'm going to have gotten it all wrong. And maybe there is one twist to the tale we don't know. The other day, I can't remember who was talking about it, maybe somebody on Wrestling Observer, they mentioned that the reason that WWE has pulled the trigger so early with Jey Uso versus Gunther, because we have so many weeks left, we probably have like 8-10 shows or something like that, is because WWE has a big old plan that's going to make you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So what the flub is that going to be? I have no idea. I just thought we were going to sort of stretch it out a bit, so one day Gunther could totally bludgeon Jey Uso, much like The Rock did to Cody Rhodes. You get your heat that way. Then eventually Jey Uso makes his way back, hip, hip, hooray, and we can do that instead. But there's also a bunch of other names. Drew McIntyre needs to be factored in. Sheamus needs to be factored in. Damian Priest needs to be factored in. Like this, I don't want to start running down a list of names. But there are people who you would assume would be in high-profile matches, and at the moment, I have just absolutely no idea who goes against who and what you do here, and up bang the wim-wham. So I love it. I think it's interesting. I think it's intriguing. Never did I think I would see a tease between Bron Breakker and AJ Styles on an episode of Raw and go, wait a minute, this has completely changed my opinion on WrestleMania 41's main events. Even though, of course, it has to be the end of one chapter and the beginning of a new, because wrestling doesn't end. I don't think that means you always have to be chained to a particular idea. So obviously last year, what did we have? The most wonderful ending ever, Cody Rhodes finishing his story. But maybe that was heightened because the year before that we had Sad Cody in the rubber chicken. Whoever did that, my gosh. And Roman Reigns, I mean, he was a bad guy, but people still kind of loved him. But him storming away with a championship. And let's not forget, the year before that, it was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar that we'd seen 1,000 times before. And at 37, it was flipping Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. So that is how quickly things can change, especially because you're back to 36, worst WrestleMania of all time, wasn't even their fault. And then 35, you're back to Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. And once again, that ended with La La Land and happiness. So I suppose Roman Reigns is the interesting part here, because at 37 and 39, he sort of walked away with a championship when people did think he was a bad guy. You can argue at 38 as well, but the Brock Lesnar thing was interesting. I don't know. We can talk about it till the cows come home. We've just seen that match a lot, so I don't think people minded sort of Roman. We didn't really draw a line under it because they fought a SummerSlam. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I just think you could probably do something that really gets people talking for a long old time. And again, if you are a CM Punk fan, you were going to shout about that till the cows come home. And what a full circle moment it would be. I mean, let's go back to 2014 again. Oddly, the same year when we did the Shield breakup, when CM Punk leaves WWE, the big thing, and I'm sure he's matured now, and I'm sure he has a different opinion on all this, but his big thing was, and they actually made up over this, was I haven't main evented WrestleMania, and people like The Miz have. I'm not getting my due. I'm not getting my worth. My year should have been 2012, and of course, he was right, given the momentum that he had, but The Rock versus John Cena got in his way. So, to jump forward to WrestleMania 41 and have the Sunday night main event, I don't want to get into that conversation, but I understand it's the last main event, and the last thing that you see is CM Punk with the WWE Championship, and not the World Heavyweight Championship, by the way, the WWE title. I know that means something to certain people. I just think it'll be credible, and I think it'll be something that we talk about for a long old time. And on paper, if you are trying to draw people in, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns night one, and CM Punk Cody Rhodes Night 2, I think is pretty damn good. But then you do have John Cena on the card. And John Cena, you can argue, is a bigger star than a lot of them. Well, he is. Well, I'm even kidding. He is an absolutely bigger crossover star, which is why ever since he does come back, numbers jump up. Do you really want him on a nothing match with Logan Paul? And I don't mean that disparagingly to Logan Paul, but it just is. Let's say the worst thing ever happened and Logan Paul beat him. Okay, there was nothing on the line. There was no real stakes. If anything, it could add to John Cena's storyline, I suppose, because, oh my gosh, I am at rock bottom now. I can't believe I do anything until he does build himself back up. But I also think it's WrestleMania. You want to give people what they want. Nobody wants to see Logan Paul defeat John Cena. I would bet even if you asked Jake Paul, he'd be like, no, don't do that. That's a really stupid idea. I can't have my last WrestleMania. One, I don't want my last WrestleMania as John Cena versus Logan Paul. I just want to see John Cena again in a higher stakes matchup. But two, I don't want to see him lose to somebody like that. I'm happy to see him lose against the Cody Rhodes. If he took on a CM Punk, I'd be happy for him to lose that because I think it carries more story weight. And I think you can do more with. But, I mean, Logan Paul doesn't lose. So it doesn't beat a lot of people of that ilk. When he took on Roman Reigns, he lost. When he took on Seth Rollins, he lost. There'll be other people I can't think about right now. He's had quite a few matches, and it does suck that he beat a Rey Mysterio, but WWE does pigeon Rey at a certain level. I don't know why. It's totally crazy. So if did lose to John Cena, I mean, does it help Logan Paul? I guess either not really. He's going to be Logan Paul regardless. If you are Logan Paul, which of course you're not watching this video, you're essentially untouchable in wrestling. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. You're Logan Paul. It's completely irrelevant. In many ways, I don't want to say WWE needs him more than he needs WWE. He could walk away, he's going to be totally fine, he's making a bunch of money, and no one is going to care. So I'm completely bamboozled, I'm completely perplexed, and I absolutely love it, and I think it's the greatest thing ever. And if someone put a gun to my head right now, I still think I would go with Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. I just do, especially because there are some hints that we're going to do the three-way on Saturday night, and I do think that's a terrific match as well. But I know there is a huge contingent of people that are like, no man, no three-way singles matches, and there was that rumor that the Drew McIntyre match has been changed because people weren't totally up on the idea of him taking on Damian Priest. I think it's completely unfair to Damian Priest. And I think if you had let these two people cook, they absolutely would have offered you something you could have sunk your teeth into. But it means the fan, it's not backlash, it's just people giving their opinions. But it is there. And I'm pretty sure that WWE is watching, which means even when you do something, if they are going to pivot and they are going to do something else, it'll probably come at you like Cleopatra. But I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. And I still think as a fan, John Cena losing and Cody Rhodes winning and then moving into that Raw is the more interesting of the two. Because I think Cody all of a sudden starts walking a fine tightrope. But then you can reverse that. And if CM Punk beats him, Cody, I think, will still be established as a super mega babyface because obviously Paul Heyman will help. And then CM Punk kind of goes back to the old CM Punk. And he's a smart old guy, CM Punk. I'm pretty sure he thinks the wave I'm currently on, not necessarily that it's going to run out, but again, you want to stay ahead of the game. And the best way to do that is come in there with just the most attitude and the most edge and the most FU you've ever seen in your life because people are going to support him regardless. We've seen that time and time again. I think the build is absolutely terrific, even though I don't know what the build is, but that's why it feels unique to me, and that's why it feels special. Now, please, go to like the video, share the video, subscribe, drop me a comment below, click the video on the screen if you want context of the video from yesterday, which has kind of turned it into a two-part story. Otherwise, if you are into your fitness supplements, grillandmind.com/Simon. Use code Simon, get 10% off, or it's 30% off Gorilla Mode Base, which is their base pre-workout. It's super duper good, otherwise I wouldn't talk about it. Simon at 316 on all social medias, prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller, TikTok, Cameo, all of those things. Just search for my name. Otherwise, I appreciate you. Keep enjoying wrestling because it's meant to be a positive Pete endeavor. I'll see you on the next one.